Alright, come join Kyle, John and David as they go through what's on their playlist, find out what's everyone's favourite at Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. We have a few segments, to be honest, in and out points, no celebs and the gossip. Back in time where we talk about the big M's, coming attractions, what the queue, quick checks, who'll be laughing, you abundantly. Welcome to Dual Redundancy.
Yes, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast where you can hear all the latest about this year's summer movies from two millennials with exactly the same opinions, but hopefully different draft options. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is
John Berwick, and the third one is
Kyle Bridger. So I'm going unique here based on my research, and I'm going to say that I am sequel heaven to John's sequel disaster to Dave's Hollywood's relevance disappearing, because this year I think stinks.
It's rough. It's a rough one. Yeah. I don't know how we're gonna do this. There will be some in there, but like I think there's a lot that's gonna be like a crapshoot. There's gonna be, it's. Well, that's one way to start the podcast. Hello, everyone. It's our 8th annual summer box office draft, an annual tradition, something we love to do, something that's always a bunch of fun. We'll see if this year holds true with the movies we have to select from. So each host gets to pick 3 movies that open wide between May 1st and the first day of fall, which is Monday, September 22nd. And we're going to take those domestic totals, add it up for those 3 films up until that day, the first day of fall. Domestic is very important because you could get some films. John's laughing. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. You get that Warcraft making 300 million international. Doesn't matter. That 50 million domestic is what counts. So yeah, so we will take up the domestic totals for their 3 films each, and then whoever has the most money at the end of the summer wins the draft. That's what we do. And throughout the process, we'll obviously be talking about the blockbusters of the summer, but, we'll talk about what we're looking forward to this summer. Possibly it's going to be more of a honorable mention heavy section there, because I don't know if how many of these we're actually looking forward to blockbuster wise, but there's some good movies coming out this summer and we'll definitely talk about them. To figure out this draft order though, we're jumping right into it because we got a lot to do, a lot of movies to talk about. We use a very trusted and reliable source. It's random.org. They will choose the order as always, and then we will hold a snake draft. So that means we go through the list. So if you have the first pick, it's first, second, third, and then we go third, second, first, and then first, second, third. So we go up and down the line here, and we use random.org, and in that we will use last year's placement. And then we hit randomize, and then that is the order. So the last year's placement was Kyle, John, David, and we'll see what the draft order is this year. Before we hit random, anybody want put it out into the universe? What draft pick do you want? Do you want the first pick, second pick, third pick? Where do you, John? What do you want?
first pick is good if there's something that is just spectacular. There is nothing this year that makes me think, oh, I gotta get that. That's the foundation block of my draft. There is none. So I don't think first is really a benefit here. Maybe the first year we're not all trying to get first.
I really don't want first. I second I think would be ideal.
I think so. Yeah, I think that gives you a good to get one of the ones that you think is going to be higher, and then to give you a good 1-2 at the midpoint to get 2 solid middle ones. I think 2 might be ideal, but 3's looking a little bit better than 1 as well. I mean,
I think if we're gonna rank them, it's maybe 2, 3, 1,
maybe
3, 2, 1. I don't know, because it's like, John, you bring up a good point here, because for those who maybe are calculating it with the snake draft, if you get the first pick, well, you get the first pick, but then you also get picks 6 and 7.
Yeah.
1, 6, and 7. But then you could get 3, 4, 9, or you could get 2, 5, 7, or 2, 5, 8. 2, 5, 8.
The way the movies are set up this year, you want to be able to package picks.
Yeah.
And at 3, 4, I would love 3, 4 to package two similar
Mm.
movies, and then 9 is a risk, and you throw it
Yeah.
out there and you see what happens. But like John said, there's nothing this year that is standout. So if you end up with one coming back to 6, you might not even have anything that can
Yeah.
compete with
Yeah,
the
so you have a
package
lot of
picks.
pressure on that first pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want the first pick. And it's funny because I feel like every year we do this, we hit randomize. Kyle gets like the third pick, and it's like, oh, come on, and
Well, this year I'm all about it. Give it to me.
yeah. So
See, not knowing half of these movies, I'm worried about just choosing something abysmal for pick number one and like
has that
not
ever stopped
realizing
you though,
it.
John?
No, it's never stopped me. But every year, it's like, oh, I don't want to pick something bad, and then it's always like the first pick that I pick is just like something that
You're good. I
stinks.
think you had the Deadpool Wolverine pick. That was the number 2
Yeah.
movie last year, I think.
I got Deadpool, and I don't. Was Top Gun a number one pick? I don't think it was.
It.
I think I went second or it's second that year. No.
Yeah, I think you the next year. I think you did Mission Impossible,
Mm,
Dead Reckoning Part One,
yeah,
and that was
that
not the number one
didn't do
movie.
great. No.
But anyways, all right, let's do this here. Let's do this. Hit random.
All right, random. You ready?
Yeah.
John, Kyle, David.
Uh,
All right, all right,
Oh man.
Yeah. Shoot.
all right, all right. But hey, crazy things have happened here. You can have the first pick. You can have the third pick. Get still win the draft. I mean, last year Kyle had the third pick, I believe. He won the draft. And we've done 7 drafts before. Obviously, if this is our 8th draft. It's pretty tied up across the board. I mean, John and I have 2 wins each. Kyle did get his 3rd win last year, so he's leading us right
Yeah.
now. But, pretty fair playing field across us.
I want to thank John for being an honest Abe. He could have hit clicked it twice and gone to the one
No.
of 5 other combos available.
No, I don't want to do that.
I know. Okay. All right. So, all right, John, whenever you're ready,
All right.
start us
I
off.
guess I lead it off.
You're the
Yeah.
number 1 pick here.
Well, you want to take a look at the wonderful boards you made first. So
Yeah, so we
Ooh,
got
those
these
are nice.
beautiful boards.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Keep track of what's going on tonight. Whenever you're ready,
All
John.
right. So I do not know what to pick. I have a list of 10 movies. The 10, just so I can't get locked out and not have a pick. I have 10 movies on a list here. They're in roughly an order that I think might be popular to least popular, but that doesn't mean anything because, like I said, I know nothing. So this one feels like a little bit of a high risk, high reward. It is a reboot of old, I don't know, comics, movies, shows. I'm gonna choose Fantastic Four as my number 1 pick. I think that's a little risky,
Oh,
but I'm hoping that it pays off. I don't know. I almost immediately regret it, but
No.
no.
I think it'll be okay.
I think they're marketing the hell out of this thing, and I
Yep.
think they really want it to be a success. I think there's a certain contingent of fans that are really jacked up about this, but the other ones in this Fantastic Four series, I feel like it's imploded multiple times
Mhm.
because it has not. It's done like 150, I think I saw,
Yeah,
or like
yeah,
170, something
is the
around in there.
third is the third time the charm, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, Pedro Pascal's pretty hot these days.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll have some stats along the way here, some old history of the box office to give you some kind of benchmarks. But yeah, like as you said, John, I did a research for about like 10, and I feel like those are really like 10 of the only players you could maybe squeeze out of this summer. And I feel like my 7, 8, 9 is like I'm stretching my back out trying to make them happen. I had this, and all of them when I do it, for fun, I kind of make my own estimates, and that's how I rank them, just
Mhm.
based on like what I think. I actually had this kind of higher than I think you're thinking. Your uneasiness about. I actually had this pretty high
Okay.
because I think of the options, I think It could happen. I mean, it's a bit later in the summer than I would have liked it. It's July 25th is when it's coming out, but that is the Barbenheimer weekend, and it has a clear runway for the rest of the summer. The rest of the summer is
Mm-hmm.
empty as hell. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, got the runway there. The question mark is the Fantastic Four and the Marvel of it all, because the previous Fantastic Four films, as Kyle mentioned, don't do that great. But like they were not in the MCU proper. They weren't in this
Mm-hmm.
behemoth that we have now. 2005's first one, I guess, was 154 million, as Kyle mentioned. That 2015 though, with the Miles Teller and the Michael B. Jordan, 56 million. So, oh yeah, but then so like that's like the track record with the franchise, but now you got Marvel behind it, and as Kyle said, you got the Disney marketing team behind it, and they have a lot riding into it because I think this is really kind of like going to be like the jump start to the
Mm-hmm.
car of what kind of Marvel's been kind of trucking along a little bit recently in this phase five. It's, outside of Deadpool, Wolverine, it's been a rough phase five for
Mm-hmm.
the MCU. Like
Yeah.
I'm running through a few. You got Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumanium,
Mm-hmm.
214. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, summer or two ago, 358, pretty good, but I think many people expected more for that May slot, that finale of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay. But the Marvels, 84,
Mm.
that was a
Mm-hmm.
billion-dollar film back in the day, the original, the first one. But then this year's Captain America: Brave New World, 200 million. So it's like you're not getting that 4, 5, 6, 7 million or 100 million that they're used to. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but this one, introduces, I believe, I mean, I don't know my MCU, ask Boyle, but like Doctor Doom and the return of Robert Downey Jr., maybe he'll make a cameo at some point, maybe that'll get the people there.
Maybe. Yeah.
But for me, not to tip my hand, but of the two Marvel films coming out this summer,
Mm.
this is the one I think has more of a shot, and I think it
Mm-hmm.
just it just is like it's just different. I think it's like the retro futuristic Jetsons vibe. It looks unique versus, I don't know, the last three or four, Captain America, Brave New
Mm-hmm.
World, Ant-Man, and all. It just looks more of the
Yeah.
same MCU. So at least this is something creatively different.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This was.
I'm hopeful, but we'll see. What's up with Kyle?
I was gonna say this was in my. I have my tier of four, then another tier of four, and then a final two.
Mhm.
This was in my top tier,
Yeah.
Okay.
so I
All
think
right.
it's. I
Well,
think it's a decent pick.
all right.
Yeah. All right. I think I'll feel pretty good if Kyle doesn't pick in his second pick here, um, my top one, because I think just as you mentioned the tiers, I think I'm in a
Mm,
pretty good spot. I think if you pick this other one, I'm going to be taking some big swings. So I'm curious
okay.
where Kyle's going with the second
So,
overall pick.
um, I think this movie's gonna be picked up after me. So I think Dave's gonna pick up
Mhm.
this movie. So I'm not afraid to share what I'm about to share. So.
Okay.
Mission Impossible, right? I'm looking at Mission Impossible. It's the final in the series, which makes me feel like more people are going to go see it because they want to see the last one in theaters. But really, Mission Impossible is only making hovering around 200 million. And I think there is another movie out there that has the potential to make a lot more based on the creative team behind it. And I think if this movie uh, tanks, I mean, it's going to be the downfall of that company. So,
Ooh, the company.
yeah, I just
All
think
right.
I don't know how they come back from this when this guy is the creative team behind it and where
Okay.
they're going for the direction of this.
Okay.
And so, my pick is going to be Superman
Oh,
Legacy. Okay.
yeah.
So I was taking a look at the other Superman movies, which kind of were like hit or miss with people. And they made still a lot of money. And I think more people are interested in what's happening with this one, with the creative team behind it, I think it has potential to be like a 300 million film.
Yeah. This is the one of my biggest question marks. After my estimate, I have question mark, question mark, question mark. I, yeah, as you said, Warner Brothers has a lot riding on this one. Like the entire refresh of their cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Just like, Fantastic Four, Disney MCU. That's big. But this is like everything to
Hmm.
DC. This is gonna have a huge marketing blitz. Um, and yeah, when I looked up the other Superman films, I was actually quite surprised of they're higher than what I remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
2006, the Brandon Routh one, 200 million. Man of Steel with Henry Cavill, 291. And if you look at the Batman versus Superman, 330, Justice League 229. Okay. And the thing that I worry a little bit is it's kind of in a rough spot. It's after the 4th of July holiday, which is usually a big money-making weekend. It's the weekend after the Jurassic World franchise,
Hmm.
2 weeks before John's pick of Fantastic Four, so it's has some superhero competition. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, do people care about Superman? In the past, it looks like they did with the money. I don't know. There's just a lot riding on this. This is like I think the biggest question mark of the summer. You can already see like there's drafts of like, the told you it didn't work, kind of
Hmm.
thing, like ready at a lot of these like
Yeah.
publications. But if it clicks, it could be really big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a risky pick, but I think so much is hedging on it. They're going to find a way to make it work.
Yeah. Okay, so this is where it gets really, really interesting.
Well, I think I know where you're going.
You think you do, but I think I have one that might be okay, of course.
Hmm.
There's one that I might surprise you guys with, maybe because of some of the stuff you said, Kyle. But anyways, this is one where you might scratch your head at first and think it's a bad call, but I'm going solely based on history.
Hmm.
That's it. Going
Hmm.
on history on this one. Um, the Rotten Tomato scores have, we're going down in the last trilogy of this franchise,
Hmm.
but they can still
Yeah.
deliver nearly 400 million a picture. And if it can do 300, I'll take it. If it can
Hmm.
do 250, I'll take it. Like that's all I'm hoping for with Jurassic World
Hmm.
Rebirth.
Yeah.
So this is, yeah, okay. There's some, I'll look at some history here. The Jurassic World trilogy that started in 2015 came out of the gate swinging. It was the first one was the shock of the summer, I think, was
Hmm.
653 million. It's not going to get close to that. It's not going to hit that. No way. But then the other ones in the trilogy, 417, and even Dominion, pretty rough, with the critics, 376 million
I know.
domestic.
I know. It's
So it's like, all
crazy.
right, like that's pretty good, and we'll have to see if this new one is still fresh because the difference here versus 2015 when Jurassic World restarted the Jurassic Park franchise was it was a good 14 years since we got some Jurassic content.
Hmm.
Now it's been 3 years. So is the fresh, or I guess the bad taste of Dominion still in people's mouths? Were those films successful because of Chris Pratt, who's not
Mm.
in these? He was at the height of his powers, during that run with Guardians and Lego Movie and all that stuff. But I think this one could be a hit with critics. You got Gareth Edwards, the guy behind critical hits like 2014's Godzilla, the Rogue One, the creator came out in 2023. People really like that. And new leads of Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali. So I think hopefully the ingredients are there for some, the talents there, that it's going to be a pretty good film critically and commercially. We'll have to wait and see. I just hope though, it's going to be one of those ones playing on IMAX. It's going to be playing on the big screen. You're going to want to
Hmm.
see it in theaters. It's a family franchise. You got the families going. That's where I'm going with it with that. What do you guys think of that pick? John, is that okay? Is that an okay
I
pick?
think it's pretty solid. That was in my higher tier, even though I agree with all what you're saying with it being a little maybe tired at this point of a franchise, but they're still making money. It's it's still making a good amount of money. So yeah, I don't think that's a bad pick at all.
Thank you. Kyle, am I good?
Yeah, no, it's definitely in my top tier. I'm not surprised by that pick at all. I think creatively they better have success here, or
Mhm.
else it's going to be bad for the franchise as a whole with back-to-back duds,
Yeah.
and maybe some even three in a row that are duds. So I think they need to be successful, but I think either way, it's going to make money,
Yeah.
and I think it was a good pick.
Yeah, and then we should also make that clear with this box office draft game that like a lot of these films have giant budgets versus the returns. Are the returns going to carry this? That doesn't matter to us. This is clearly like we're starting at zero,
Mhm.
and these films could have cost 700 million to make, and if it makes 300 million, that's bad. That's bad. But
Hmm.
like for us, hey, that's who cares? That made
300
300 million
million's
for
pretty
us.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and like with this, it's like yeah, like those other Jurassic films, it's like who knows, 200, 300 million it costs or whatever. Dominion makes 376. Like, oh, did it really make that much? Doesn't matter. That was 400 million almost to us in our draft. So that's where it changes up things a little bit here. So those are their first round. We're gonna go back through. I'm gonna start, and then Kyle, then John. This is where I think I'm gonna keep it a little spicy on the podcast, a little
Okay.
interesting because
Hmm.
I think you might think of where I'm going, and if I'm sure this won't get back to me. This will go. Probably Kyle will pick it in the next one. I think I'm gonna be a little risky here. I think because
Okay.
looking at past drafts, kids,
Hmm.
kids dominate. I mean, last year Inside Out 2, like that made like I think like $1 billion close to domestically. I could be wrong. I would have to look that up again, but it made a lot of money. Like,
Hmm.
and I think that really helped with some like nostalgia. I think, you got the kids who grew up with it now being adults or parents, wanting to see it and see it with their kids. I think those family films really play well in the summer. So this is where I'm going to take the risk. Instead of going with the impossible mission, I'm going to go with a little blue creature
Mm.
of Lilo and Stitch.
Mm. Okay. That
Hmm.
is interesting.
So this is
That is
this
interesting.
I'm hoping with this pick I can, get the family money here. I get the whole
Hmm.
family coming in to see this live action Lilo and Stitch. The original, it's been a while, 2002. But made about 150 million domestic then. All right, give me another 150, 200 million now. I'll take it. Um, the live action, it could be hit or miss with Disney. The most recent one, I believe, well, I'm not counting the Snow White debacle. That might have failed for many other reasons, which we don't
Yeah.
need to get to on the podcast. That made 84 million. But Mufasa, the Lion King one, live action, 221 million back in December.
Wow.
Little Mermaid, was it last year, year before? The same weekend that this one's coming out, 300 million.
Wow.
And obviously, you have the big hits like Aladdin and Lion King back in 2019, pre-pandemic, 355 and 543 million domestic, respectively. So
Hmm.
there could be some money on the table here. You're looking at a lot of these, at least 200, and hey, I'll take 200. But it's that Memorial Day weekend spot.
Hmm.
Uh, could be rough. Could be rough. I mean, there's been some good ones, but there's been some bad ones. Disney had some ones of 4 day totals. You're looking at Solo, the Star Wars film, 103 million. Pirates 4, 78 million. You can get some real some clunkers there, but Aladdin did great in this spot. Mermaid did great in this spot.
Hmm.
But man, last year's Memorial Day, whew, that was an all-time worst. So, Furiosa made 32, Garfield made 31, but then Top Gun Maverick made 160 in one weekend alone. So who the hell knows anymore that Memorial Day weekend stat? It goes up and down every year. I'm hoping this
Yeah.
year is an up year. But yeah,
Well, I
thoughts on this
think,
pick?
yeah, well, I think Little Mermaid and Snow White, when you take those, I think those are classics
Yeah,
that everyone knows. Lilo and Stitch is unique because I think it's like a sneaky classic or almost like
Yeah,
a
I
cult
think yeah,
classic.
exactly. Yeah.
And I think people in our age group who are having kids, maybe they go and take their children to see it because they also like Lilo and Stitch, and the live action versus animation doesn't matter to the kids because they don't know any different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I
To
mean,
them, it's like the Sonic the Hedgehog
yeah,
movies that have been doing quite well. Live action with a little blue creature running around,
yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
with bad teeth.
Yeah, so I think it's a unique pick. I wouldn't have made this pick, but
Mm,
I do think it has a chance to overperform. But I didn't have it making, I had it making just over 150, maybe.
yeah. But I think at this point, looking at some of these other ones that we're going to get to
Mm,
in that second tier, as you
yeah.
talked about, Kyle, because
Mm-hmm.
after this point, there's one film in my like tier, my top five or whatever. Um,
Which one is that?
I think Kyle's gonna take it next, but like after that, it's like I think there's a lot of kind of crapshoots.
Yeah.
So I think yes, I am taking a risk. I don't know if this would have come back to me at 9. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like I think I don't want to take a I don't know. I don't want a mediocre one now. Like I took a big risk 2 years ago with Barbie, and that paid off really well.
No,
So I'm
that's true.
hoping, I got hopefully a strong foundation with Jurassic World, so I can take a stretch with Lilo and Stitch. But I think I know where Kyle's going with the next one, and
Yep.
where,
And
where are you going?
I don't think this is a surprise. I think this is a guaranteed $200 million movie.
Yeah, so
And so I'm going to go with Mission Impossible. I think for all the reasons I mentioned before when I had the first opportunity to take it at number two is, you know, Tom Cruise always doing crazy stunts. People want to go see it in IMAX. I think Tom Cruise has a good relationship with theaters, more willing to keep it in there for longer, possibly. Um, yeah, I just think the end of the series, I think there's a lot happening for it. I think it's a guaranteed $200 million movie with the potential to be more. So I'm gonna go. I think this is a good pick. I think I'm happy that this was an option at this point. Um, and honestly, with that, I think I've got a pretty strong chance to win this year. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about my picks.
we'll see. One of these days, I also want to like throw in like an anchor. Like I want to do one where it's like I don't know how to do it yet, but I want to do like saddle up, somebody like maybe like John and I vote, and we have to give Kyle like a bomb, as just like what I mean? Like you do that for each
Hmm.
person. Everyone gets
Yeah.
like you choose two and then like that bomb or something on
Yeah.
yours.
Hmm.
And it could be like, oh, I think Oppenheimer's not gonna do well. It's an R-rated biopic, who knows? And then
Mhm.
it's like 100.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, so this is what I was debating about between Lilo and Mission Impossible. And I like I said, I went with, the kids of it all, the family franchise. I thought this is like where it was like a little tricky because like yeah, I estimate it like it could go, what it's in line with other Mission Impossible films, which would maybe get it to like a 170, or it could do really well and get over 200. And that's where I was like, it's tough because
Hmm.
I expected a lot more from Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 2 years ago, especially after the success of Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick made 718 million domestic. And it's like, all right, a year later, we got Tom Cruise, doing crazy stuff again in planes and running around. And Fallout did so well. Fallout had a franchise high of 220 million. All right, buckle up. And then it made 172 million. Not bad, but like not, I
Hmm.
think, enough to be that number one pick that year for the draft.
Yeah.
It had a lot of issues with Barbenheimer that summer, but the issue I had with it was like the marketing of it all. I almost like was the opposite reaction of the end of the era, all these, films, culminating with this, because I feel like that could turn off audiences a little bit because it has like the MCU homework feeling where
Mm.
it's like, I don't know like I'm a fan of this franchise. This is the one film I am looking forward to this summer. I'm going to be there if I can, no matter what, front row, first night, I'm there.
Hmm.
But this is like a 30-year franchise. Like,
Yeah.
what happened in
Yeah.
Mission Impossible 2 that's gonna pay off in this one? Like, it seems like there's like characters that they show in the trailers. It's like, hey, who's that guy? Am I supposed to know the connection there? Like, it just seems
Mm,
like,
yeah.
when
That's
I
true.
remember, I don't know, it was Rogue Nation, Kyle. You and I were just like, hey, let's go see a movie. What do you want to see? Mission Impossible. That seems fun. And it was just like this one-off, like you could start at the beginning. You didn't really need to know the backstory. If I saw Mission Impossible 3 or 4, you
Mm,
just were watching it. It was fun. But this seems like, because initially it was Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2, but they had to get rid of the part because Part 1 didn't do as good as they wanted to. It's like that's what worries me with it all, where it's
mm,
like I think it could really connect. It could be like I'm gonna put my money into the film, but I just worry that, like Fallout was the franchise high. It had extremely like good reviews.
mm.
220 million. That was the most a Mission Impossible movie has ever made. The last one, 172, wasn't as well received. So again, we'll have to wait and see. But Memorial Day weekend, it's gonna be you and me, Lilo and Stitch versus Mission Impossible. So
Nice.
I'm sure Mission Impossible will win the weekend, but like I'm
The
hoping
long
again,
term.
give me the long term because yeah, like I'll have to look at the other stuff here, but it's like you get other films for that, you know, older male, group of like, oh, I got another superhero movie to watch this weekend. I got Superman to watch. I got this. It's like,
Mm,
but what kid movies are out there? Oh, I guess Lilo and Stitch. Let's go watch that, for
yeah.
the, but who knows? But yeah. John, you said this was your number one pick 2 years ago.
It was. I think it's a very solid pick for at this point. I'm looking at the list that I made for the rest of
Yeah.
the thing, and I'm like,
This is rough. This is rough
This is
now.
tough now.
I just googling a bunch of movies to see if if it's worth pivoting to something else or whatever. It's like, oh man,
You're trying to
uh,
find an extra 200 million
Yeah.
somewhere.
the other one did 160,000, maybe 160 mil. But yeah. So I think that's a very solid pick for this point in the night.
Cool. All right.
But I guess that brings it around to me
Mhm.
for the double whammy here. The two
Yeah, these are your last two picks.
the two last nails in the coffin. Boy, a lot of these movies I don't know anything about. I have not a clue. I think. See, now I want to check other things.
No? We're gonna have to do like a shot clock. If you don't make a
Yeah,
decision, you
right.
get an X. You get a
All right.
goose egg.
I'm gonna pull an audible on myself. This actually was not on my list, but I think
Ooh.
it probably maybe should have been
Whoa.
for this tier of things. The previous ones
Oh,
in
boy.
this franchise were doing like 150 or higher, it seems like.
Okay.
This is a big depart from that series. However, it
I
has
think I know where you're going.
has
Okay.
the branding of the series.
Okay.
So I'm hoping at this point in the draft, it's enough to just like kick the can down the road a few more. I'm gonna go for the from the world of John Wick, ballerina here.
Wow.
The last one did almost 2 in the John Wick series. Almost 200 million. So I'm hoping 180, 150 at least, just to like keep me in the running.
Yeah.
I don't at this point I don't know. I have a list of movies here and I'm like, yeah, but is that gonna really do a lot of money or is it gonna break even? Like,
Yeah, I'm shaking a little bit now because I would say this. I wasn't gonna pick this for a little bit, but like I had this like let's say number 8 on my list.
Mhm.
I have two other films here, and you still guys have two films to pick. If you do that, I don't like anything after 8. So I don't like my 9, 10. I don't like them at all. So like I'm really scared now. Um, so I think
But-
this year like number 2 with the pick to get. But anyways, yeah. From the world of John Wick, Ballerina.
again, it's not Keanu Reeves, but
Yeah.
it's that same. I don't know. I'm hoping maybe the franchise weight will either people won't realize he's not in it, or B will be like, well, I still like those movies.
I think they did some reshoots to get him in it because they were
Did
worried.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because this
All
has
right.
been, there's been a lot of reshoots involved with this one. I think this is supposed to come out
Yeah.
like last summer. Like it's been in
Yeah.
the cutting room floor for a few times.
Again, I'm not expecting this to be my anchor. I'm expecting this to be like
A supporting player.
the support, the stilts on which the anchor can stand on to achieve greatness, maybe. But
We
yeah,
can just
I don't
hope
know.
that those stilts just fall underneath it, Kyle.
Well, we'll see. I'm nothing of what I have left am I remotely sure about. So,
The thing that I'm worried about this movie is like they have to market it from the world of John Wick. It's already starting to get confusing because it's like, is it a part of that? Is it, it's just.
I did some basic research. I believe it's in between the events of 3 and 4 because something happens in 4, which would make it really hard for a John Wick 5, even though I think they are making a John Wick 5. I don't know how that's possible. That's all I'll say. But John Wick franchise has been growing. First one 43 million, second one 92, then the last two 171, 187. So it's going up there. However, as Kyle or John mentioned, this is not John Wick presents John Wick.
Yeah.
This is John Wick presents Ballerina, and so it's an in-universe movie. And there's been the reshoots, and I think they did add in Keanu Reeves because I believe he's at least on the poster. Who knows if it's one of those like Ghostbusters cameos that like you're not really in the film, but like I don't know, it worried me a little bit just because of all like the behind the scenes reshoots of it all. Then again, I mean, you got Ana de Armas, and it's like that's going to bring in a certain demo. But I think that was already the demo that we're going to be watching John Wick to begin with, and it is a rated R film, which is always kind of tricky. Deadpool and Wolverine obviously made a lot of money last summer, but sometimes it kind of cuts your audience a little bit. But to me, I was worried a little bit that it would play sort of like Furiosa last year versus like the whole Mad Max franchise where it's in the franchise, but this was a prequel, and that made a dreadful 67 million. So I think it's gonna be better than that, maybe. Like I think it'll be in like 70 to 100 a range at least. I had it maybe like, okay, maybe you can get lucky and get 125, but I think
I'm hoping for 125, 150, but we'll see.
Well, my other thing is like Ana de Armas I feel like was just in a movie where she was like kicking ass and she was like
she was in a James Bond.
Yeah.
No Time to Die.
But I think there was like an Apple TV show with her and or not TV show, movie with
Ghosted?
her. And, or something like that. Yeah. So I mean she can definitely bring people to the theater, but it's just like I don't know if there's enough star power there, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right, John. Actually, before you do that, I'm gonna do we did 2 rounds. Let's do a recap of where we at. We'll keep it up with yours up here on the screen. So John started the draft with the Fantastic Four First Steps, and then he just picked from the world of John Wick, Ballerina. Kyle went second, and he picked Superman, and then picked Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. And then I got the third pick, and I went with back-to-back Jurassic World Rebirth and Lilo and Stitch. So that's where we're at right now. We all have 1 pick left. So, John, here we go.
This might be an actually bad pick, but that's okay.
My fingers are...
Yeah. Look, I think it's going to be a good movie. I don't know if it's going to be a popular movie. Looking at some of the previous ones in this franchise, adjusting for inflation, because it's been a little while. Yeah, you know where I'm going already.
You put the asterisk there. Okay.
Yeah. The last movie in this franchise, if you will, adjusted for inflation, did over 200 mil, which is pretty solid. Again, adjusted for inflation from 1991 when it came out. But I'm gonna choose The Naked Gun as my last pick.
Wow.
I don't know about this one, John.
Hoping that a comedy will be what everyone needs to get them out of their summer funk. I don't know. I'm interested in watching it. I think at this point there are no real good choices.
Okay.
So
I'm a little happy now because that wasn't the one that I had 6 and 7. So I'm gonna get at least one of them.
okay, good.
Kyle will pick it for me probably at the end of the day here.
Mhm.
But let's talk about this Naked Gun. So
Mhm.
I think John, you always like to put the curveball in that third pick. Whether it was Borderlands last year, Warcraft year one, I think. You know,
Is it a curveball but always does bad?
I mean, there's trouble with the curve, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't this one. I don't know. I think there was one or two, maybe. Again, we're at the bottom of the barrel. The barrel is we're
There's
scraping. There's a couple I think that will make more. Maybe I'm wrong. Kyle can yeah, correct me. But yeah, I don't have too many stats on Naked Gun. I had this as actually like an honorable mention where I was
Mm.
like, okay, got this reboot with Liam Neeson. Of the ones, again, if we're gonna for me to spend money and go to the theater and watch, I might check this out or at least watch it on streaming where it's like written and directed by Akiva from The Lonely Island.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you guys saw the trailer, but even like there's a joke at the very end of the trailer involving Orenthal James Simpson that I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, we're going there. They're not holding back. It's like, all right, respect, with the writing of this film. But yeah, Kyle, what do you think about this pick?
Uh, yeah, this is definitely a curveball. This is not on my list. I mean, I'm interested to see what they do with the movie. I would probably check it out on streaming, but maybe it's a sneaky surprise. Who knows? But yeah, this is fun. This is a fun pick. I like this pick.
Yeah, no, it's definitely fun. It's a fun pick. I'm just glad that I'm telling you. We'll talk about it at the end here. If you picked like my sixth pick and Kyle picks the seventh, I would have been screwed. Screwed, man. Like, because I really don't like anything after that. My
Yeah.
eight on my list was John Wick. So like anything after that, I was like,
Mm,
yikes. We're
yikes.
sub we're
Yeah.
sub 100, I think. But um,
Yeah.
all
This is
right.
interesting now. Because I have some question marks in this tier that I have here. Um, I put in this second tier possibly Thunderbolts, but I think that's gonna die. I think that's not gonna do well.
Mhm.
So, or not as well as it, some others. I think maybe Thunderbolts makes 125 million. Then I have another possible. I was like, maybe Final Destination. It's coming back. It has a new vibe to it. Maybe that gets up in the 100 range. Then I'm thinking now, should I go for, you know, famous actor or um kids? Do we want those kids? No Diddy, as the kids would say
Oh,
these
Jesus
days.
Christ.
But I'm really torn because there's a movie I would actually want to watch, and
Mm,
then one that I don't know why is being made.
okay.
Um, but with that said, I am going to go with How to Train Your Dragon.
Mm. That would have been my next pick.
Yeah, so that is I'm going back to Dave's kind of advice here in trying to get the kids here. But I don't know
Yeah, I mean,
why.
the box office from the
Yes.
kids,
Yes.
their parents, okay?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yes. Um yeah, I don't know why this is being made. Uh it's live action, but again, we're about dragons, so it has to be computer generated anyways. I'm like, I don't understand this. And it seems very soon.
Yeah.
Um, but the other movies made quite a bit of money. So I think there's a possibility this could make 150, maybe 200 if you get lucky.
That's what I
So
had it. That's what I had it in between. I
yeah,
had like
so
maybe
that's mine.
175. Um, Yeah, this was going to be my next pick at 6 here. Just to kind of give you a peek behind my curtain. I had like, again, these are in no particular order because they're all more like tiers, but like you had the Jurassic World Rebirth, Fantastic Four, First Steps, Lilo and Stitch, Mission
Hmm.
Impossible. Then I had like Superman because it was such a question mark. It could have, went up one or two. I think that was a good tier. And now we're in
Hmm.
like the second tier of How to Train Your Dragon, blank, and then from the world of John Wick, Ballerina, and then some
Hmm.
stuff where it's like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, you look at the originals that came out in 2010s, 217, 177, 160. So, that was a few years ago. Yeah, you could probably get close to 200, maybe 170. I guess 175. But yeah, it's that it could be big. It could be the Inside Out, it could be Lion King because of the stuff with families and franchise nostalgia. That's kind of what I was going for with the Lilo and Stitch pick. The, we mentioned it, all those stats then with Aladdin, Lion King, Little Mermaid. But then again, you also could get misses like Dumbo with 114 or Snow White with 84. But like when you actually look at those, I feel like you start to see a pattern where it's like Aladdin, Lion King, Little Mermaid are part of like the Disney Renaissance
Hmm.
versus Dumbo and Snow White, good films, but not like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a whole different
Hmm.
generation.
For
So
sure.
the question mark I had, which I couldn't find any concrete answer to this anymore, and I think it would actually affect one of my other picks, is the whole windowing of it all. We've talked about it in the past, especially right around at the end of the pandemic, where it was like, oh, you could do this, pick this film, but like in 45 days, it's going to be on this streaming service. That's going
Hmm.
to cut into the box office. I do, I know Peacock has a like 45-day window, or at least did. And I think this is a Peacock NBC Universal film, which Jurassic World is too. So I don't know how that's going to affect things, if it's actually going to stick to that 45 days or if it's going to be longer. So that was like my one con with it, but I think overall this is a really good pick.
I think if a movie would be doing well, you would hope
You
they would.
would,
But I
but
know
remember,
we've
we've seen
had,
from past
yeah,
stuff here that doesn't mean anything
yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
They
I
have
know.
these rules. They got to prop up the pluses of it all on those
Yeah,
streaming
yeah,
services.
that's true.
All right, one last pick in the draft here, and like I said, I don't like anything after 8, so I'm gonna go with this one. But Kyle kind of mentioned it earlier. I don't have much faith in it, but I have more faith in this at pick number 9 in the draft
Hmm.
versus the other options on the table.
Hmm.
So I'll pick it here. I would not have picked it any, you know, 3 or 4. So I'm gonna go. I gotta get some superheroes in here, even though I don't think it's going to do well, especially compared to the other MCU film this summer. Thunderbolts,
Wow,
asterisks.
wow. That's not where I thought you were going,
Where
honestly.
was I gonna go?
I thought you might go F1. Isn't that a
Yeah.
No, I don't think F1's gonna. I don't think it's
no?
gonna do good. I don't think. I mean,
Well,
I'll say real quick with F1. I think it's like, I looked at some stats for that. The closest thing I could think of was Gran Turismo, another race car movie that came out over the
hmm.
summer. 44 million. That was 2 years
Oh,
ago.
is that
And
Yeah.
sure, you have
Ford
Brad
versus
Pitt.
Ferrari?
You got Brad Pitt, and it's like, but his most recent films don't screen box office. Babylon
Hmm.
15, Ad Astra 50. Sure, he had
Well,
Bullet Train, 100
the,
million, but like
don't.
I just worry that like it has like this Apple TV Plus distribution thing that like Killers of the Flower Moon had, and the Wolves, they pulled it from theater. Like it just seemed too much of a risk where it's like they could just pull this thing.
Hmm.
Like I'm worried like just from the like the behind the scenes of it all with F1.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think F1 is a bigger property than you think, though. I think it's more popular than you think. So
I
It
that's
think
got
what I'm.
big in the pandemic too.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't see it. I don't.
I
I could
get
be
what you're
wrong.
saying.
I just think it's too much of a question mark. I
Hmm.
think, and that's the thing. If we went one more round, maybe. But like I think with this is a question mark for sure. But I think at the end of the summer, and we'll play this back in
Mm.
September, I think Thunderbolts is going to make more than F1.
Mm.
Just
Just
also,
because
and
of
just because also
the
like
stars in it?
maybe not necessarily the stars, but because it's in this MCU BS.
Yeah.
We talked
Yeah.
about it with Captain America: Brave New World. Terrible reviews, still made 200 million.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Like
true.
uh, whatever, Quantumanium, terrible reviews, over 200 million. It's like it has the Disney push behind it, and it's like, well, in order to understand anything that happens in Fantastic Four, you got to watch Thunderbolts.
Mm,
And Thunderbolts will actually have a cameo from whoever, Timothy
yeah.
Chalamet playing whatever, the new superhero. It's like, oh, I got to see that.
Yeah.
So it's like that's where it's like, that's where I'm
Didn't
going with that. And it's like I like I said when we're talking about Fantastic Four, I don't think it necessarily looks good. I think it's like a Suicide Squad light. I think
yeah.
there's not many. It's the B team. It's don't get me wrong, love Florence Pugh, but it's like these guys are not household names versus like
Yeah.
the Avengers. It's not going to be Guardians 2.0, but like, you know,
Didn't
then
they just
again,
make a movie with Marvel with like a group of them? What was it called?
I don't
I
know.
thought they, or maybe was that a TV show? I can't
I,
remember,
I don't, yeah,
honestly.
I don't know. They all blend together.
No
But
idea.
that's the thing. I think it's just like it's so like enriched into this world that you have to see it because like it's at least we'll have a probably an okay opening weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, people wrote off Guardians when it first came out. Like, you got a talking raccoon and a tree,
Yeah.
and then it makes all those movies made over 300 million.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I'm hoping again of what's left. This one has quite a bit of runway before Mission Impossible at the end of the month, taking those IMAX screens. So I just think, with the MCU of it all, the superhero of it all, the homework, I got three, coming with good, and bad, and watchable. I'll get three tickets right there, So it's like, um, yeah. Again, I think for pick number nine, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I just don't. I'll have to look up also when F1's coming out. I don't. I was really worried about the Apple TV Plus of it all.
Yeah.
Um, I don't
Yeah. I get that.
because yeah, like
June 27th.
June 27th. I mean, let's see
The
what else is.
weekend before July 4th.
And weekend before July 4th. I'll have to see what else is coming out around that time. Because that also, can, you could have the Barbenheimer right after a Mission Impossible and steal all your screens. But yeah, I'm trying to do this live on the pod here, but yeah, it's coming out the same weekend as Megan 2.0. Um,
No.
but no, I
Uh-oh.
mean like the next weekend is Jurassic World. I think that will take
Mm-hmm.
the screens from it.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
2 weeks later, Superman. I just think like there's too much of, and like I said, like Brad Pitt, yeah, great actor, but kind of not really in the box office.
Yeah.
Uh, what do they call The Rock? The box office Viagra? I'm pretty sure that is what they called him.
Oh my gosh.
But
Just wow.
yeah, I want to run through one or two that I had on like the list that
Yeah.
again, big question mark. Um, you know, you know, Elio, that's the
Yeah.
Disney Pixar film of the summer. Sure. Inside Out dominated last summer, but this was a hard one, to do because this is an original film.
Yeah.
This is the
Hmm.
really we've only had one original since the pandemic, and that was Elemental, which really struggled at first, but ended up, making 154,
Mm-hmm.
which it kind of was a big surprise that summer. But like, if you look at like Lightyear, the year before that with 118 million, it's like I think this one could just get missed with all the Lilo and Stitch and the Dragon, How to Train Your Dragon, and all that
Mm-hmm.
of the summer. I think this one could be like forgotten about. I don't know if this one's gonna have the heat for that. Um, any other ones on your like top list for like blockbusters that could have been a contender on your list, or is that the
Um,
barrel? Is that what's
yeah,
left?
it is the barrel, but I'll just mention a couple. I had Final Destination as a possibility. I had F1, which we talked about. I thought maybe the new Karate Kid might reach a
Yeah,
little
I
something.
I had that like right after Elio. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like maybe, especially that Cobra Kai bump. That
Hmm.
was huge on Netflix. But
And there's another animated movie. I didn't know it did this well. It was called The Bad Guys, and they have the
yeah,
sequel coming out. And I thought maybe if I had to choose something kid related, maybe that makes
interesting.
something worthwhile.
I think of like of the kids ones left. this would have been, this is like literally the last one on my list, but like
Yeah.
there's a Smurfs movie, and
Yeah.
it's like, all right, I think that would like that probably would have played like Garfield last year. That made
Mm.
91. It could have maybe
Hmm.
made like 60, 70. I think these like older franchise things, maybe it's not as like relevant to
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One I was actually surprised with was at first I was like I had it again right after like Karate Kid. I'm like Megan 2.0.
Yeah.
Um, you don't know because it came out in January, the first one, but that was a surprise, made 95 million. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, maybe this makes 100 million.
Hmm.
But I don't know, I think it was too risky. I saw your Final Destination pick. I looked at it like the top one ever was back in 2009 was 66 million, but like
Hmm.
normally they make 40, 50. And
Yeah.
again, the rated R
Yeah.
worried me. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we got like the top films. I don't think anything's gonna really like surprise us. Maybe I'm wrong with F1. I just don't see it. Like sure,
Yeah.
it is I think by um what's his name? The director of um Top Gun Maverick, but again, as we're seeing with uh Tom Cruise the following year, the, the Top Gun effect maybe doesn't matter. Like, you
Yeah.
could still have the main actor in it doing stunts and it doesn't matter. And
Hmm.
yeah, like Ford Ferrari is a good comparison. I'll have to look up those numbers, but I look up F1. I feel like that I think it could do really well worldwide,
Worldwide.
F1.
Yeah.
I don't know about domestically,
Mm.
but
117 for Ford.
okay.
Yeah.
That was
I think
domestic
it,
for Ford?
Domestic, yeah.
Okay.
I think it could. That's what my thinking was. It could reach that level.
Yeah, I still think I I think Disney would be essing their pants if Thunderbolts makes below 117.
Yeah.
So that's where I
That's
think I'm
true.
going with, where it's like, yes, I think, yeah, again, one more round, F1's a great contender. I
Hmm.
just think between Thunderbolts and F1,
Yeah.
I think I'm safer
Yeah.
to pick that. But anyways, that's the draft. Real quick now, let's do some quick honorable mentions of films that are not probably going to make that much money, but films that we're actually looking forward to seeing this summer. Kyle, I want to start off with you here.
The first one I have is friendship.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
I really it seems weird. It seems interesting. I'm wondering what's going to happen in this movie. It's got Tim Robinson, who we love, Paul Rudd,
Mhm.
who's great. So I'm really interested in this movie.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
This is I think you should leave the movie. This
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
obviously Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd, but like it just I've heard stuff where it's like these pull quotes where it's like I love you man for sickos and quote the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Plus you got Connor O'Malley in it. So all right,
Yeah.
you know.
Who's deranged and
Yeah.
unhinged.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh
Um, so after Friendship, I am interested in the F1 movie. I'm interested to see what they do. It looks cool. Um, and uh, just because it's so long ago now, I'm wondering what they're going to do with it. But Happy Gilmore 2, we'll
yeah.
see what happens there. But I am interested in that, see what they do.
Yeah. No, yeah, Happy Gilmore is actually one of like the missing Sandler movies in my repertoire. I love Billy Madison, but like I never got into Gilmore too. Maybe I'll have to do a double feature. Are
You
either
should
you
watch it.
yeah?
I mean, it might seem like stupid humor
Yeah.
now because like you watch these movies when you're younger, so but I think there's still something to watching it where you're at in life now. I think it's
Yeah.
still funny.
Okay. All right. I'm curious if Drew Carey's going to make an appearance in this one though. We'll see. I got some picks. And then I'll share some if John has any left over after I steal them all. Eddington. It's the latest Ari Aster film.
Mm.
We got
Mm.
Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, man, busy guy. Austin Butler and Emma Stone. It's a good contemporary Western set during 2020. Um, don't know, other things than that, but I like Ari Aster, sure. But Was Afraid was a weird one, but I really love Midsommar, Hereditary. Like so, some. It's always you never know what to expect, and it's a great
Hmm.
cast. Um, One that's also another big question mark is called Weapons. It's from the director of Barbarian. It's his follow-up.
Mm.
Josh Brolin, Julia Gardner. And all I got is it's about multi-related plots marked by the disappearance of school kids in the middle of the night. And as we know with Barbarian, nothing goes according to plan, so we don't know if that's like the first 10 minutes of the film and we're doing something else for the rest of the movie. But, again, good cast, interesting director. I'm excited to see what's in store for his follow-up. And then I'll do one more and then we'll see if there's anything left for John. But there's another Franco Brie collaboration, Together. They have a couple's move to the countryside triggers a supernatural incident that drastically alters their relationship, existence, and physical form. This one's not written by Dave Franco and Alison Brie like The Rental, I believe, was from 2020, but I saw that one. That one was a fun film and curious to see. I think this played at some of the festivals and was well received, so I'll give this one a shot as well. John, anything left? Anything left on the board to talk about?
No, I think anything I really wanted to see, we discussed. I mean, yeah, friendship's looking pretty good. Um, you know, Top Gun, not Top Gun,
Yeah, I was gonna
Mission
say.
Impossible. Other than that, yeah, there's nothing really in there that I'm like, I gotta go see it. Like, I mean, yeah, we just kind of discussed this earlier. Not really stacked this summer. There's nothing too crazy going on.
Yeah. Um, any thoughts on 28 Years Later? I'm not connected with that franchise, but either of you guys excited
I've
for that one?
never seen any of these movies in
I've
this.
seen the first one, which I thought was creepy, but it's I'm not a big horror
Mm.
movie
Yeah.
person, and I don't know how well I could last in it. And even still, I wouldn't go to the theaters to
Mm.
watch it.
I
Maybe if
think
I
I
were to
think Jodie
watch.
Comer are girls in it, I think.
Nice,
And yeah, I
but
think I think Danny Boyle, Alex Garland, they're all back.
mhm.
But yeah. All right. So that is the summer. That's our summer movie preview special. Let's do a quick recap of where the draft ended up here. Let's start off with John. Um, he had the first pick. He went with the Fantastic Four: First Steps, From the World of John Wick, Ballerina, and then The Naked Gun. And then Kyle, number two. Pretty good group here. Superman, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, and How to Train Your Dragon. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then we end with me, Jurassic World Rebirth, Lilo and Stitch, and then Thunderbolts. Now, yeah, I think yeah, it's like I think I have a good one with Jurassic World. I think that'll be a solid one. Who the hell knows with the other two? But again, I took a chance with Barbie one year.
Mm.
You gotta risk it to get the biscuit here.
Yeah. I'm
So
still confident in what I got, though. I'm sorry to
I
say.
I like yours. I think after playing this round, through the thing, I think two was the pick this year. We were worried about like,
Yeah.
oh, definitely not one. Is it three? Is it two? Which pick is the one? I think two was the one because it's more of those middle ones versus
Hmm.
yeah, you get kind of the bottom of the barrel
Yeah,
um
for
after those
sure.
around. But it's not just us three competing.
Uh-oh.
Surprise!
Uh-oh.
Again, we have Gemini. Gemini is Google's AI chatbot assistant. We're letting Google decide uh, through the we Google gets to pick from all the films of the summer because they weren't in the random.org draft, so they get to pick, and we'll see. Like if AI is really with the full board smarter than three podcasters here, we'll see.
If it chooses all of my films, do I automatically win?
Yeah, well, okay. I guess if it does, but let's see. Did it? Let's see their picks. Okay, starting number one, they went with Superman. Oh, so far, Kyle.
Yeah.
I have some written stuff here. So, superhero films, especially those featuring iconic characters like Superman, tend to draw huge audiences. There's a lot of built-in fan interest, and the film is well received and could have a very long run in theaters. Oh, and if the film is well received, I'm like, what do you got there, Google, that you have some inside info? All right, let's see. Will it go three for three for Kyle? Mission Impossible: The Final
Hey.
Reckoning. The Mission Impossible franchise is known for its thrilling action sequences and Tom Cruise's dedication to performing incredible stunts. These films consistently perform well at the box office, attracting both action fans and general moviegoers. All right, will it go three for three? Number 3. Oh, Lilo and
Oh.
Stitch. Live action remakes of beloved Disney animated films have been a major draw in recent years. Lilo and Stitch is a very popular and heartwarming story, so it has the potential to appeal to families and fans of the original. So, 2 of Kyle's films, 1 of mine, my wild card pick. So, we'll see. Who the hell knows though? Because I feel like last year had like one of each of ours, or maybe didn't pick any of
Mm.
Kyle's and Kyle won.
Mm.
And then the best decider of this though is when we do the poll. I do a poll on Instagram. We'll post our these draft boards, and it's always like whoever the audience is like overwhelmingly, this is the winner. This person
Yeah.
has 0. So like their pick for the winner will be last place, and the one that
Yeah.
has 0 votes
That
wins. That
was
happened
last year, right?
last year and the year before. The year before when I won, that's what happened. Everyone was like, Dave's team sucks. No chance. I win. And then last year, I think Kyle had 0 votes and won.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see on that. All right. So that is our 8th annual draft. That's it for now. That's all we have for this week's episode. We will be back looking like the end of May, so about in a month. We'll talk about the season 2 finales of 2 shows on HBO, The Last of Us and The Rehearsal. We got 2 shows going up on Sunday nights. We'll talk about those 2 season 2s. A lot to talk about with one of those after episode 2. A lot to talk about. So, anyways, just last week we discussed the premiere of The Last of Us. A lot of outdated stuff already. Again, episode 2. And we talked about the White Lotus season 3, so you can check that out in our archives. You can find those episodes of the podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, doreduncy.com. We are live streaming these shows on Twitch, twitch.tv/doreduncy, and on YouTube. And you can find clips. You can find the poll to vote who had the best draft on Instagram at Dual Redundancy. We're also on TikTok. I want to thank both of you guys for joining me today for doing this crazy draft that we do every year. But to do it on a Saturday afternoon, couldn't do it without you, John. Getting this episode, a lot of moving pieces behind the scenes. You're making those draft boards live with the posters there. You don't know what we're going to pick, so to do that and to get this episode up on the podcast players, I couldn't do it without you guys.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time, I'm David Allen.
I'm Jeff Berwick.
And I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for our 8th annual Oscar, or what, Jesus, box office draft. I'm out of here, guys. Until next time, goodbye, everybody.